Hello everyone. In today's video, we are going to continue with this first chapter, Matterinoursurroundings, and the topics which we'll be discussing here is evaporation and factors affecting it. So let's begin with the positive thought. The challenges can be stepping stones or stumbling stones. So it is just a matter that how you view them. Correct? Moving on further, with when we talk about evaporation, we have discussed in the previous videos that whenever we think about change of state of matter, evaporation is the phenomena where the liquid is changing into vapors. But there's one difference between boiling, where again the liquid is changing into vapors, that evaporation is taking place at a temperature which is below the boiling point. Fine. So whenever we talk about evaporation, we have to take care that evaporation always takes at a temperature below the boiling point. Now, how the evaporation takes place? You can see here, as the sun rays are falling on the water bodies, the water molecules which are on the top layer of the water bodies absorb the heat and they change into water vapors, and those water vapors rise up in the atmosphere. And you can see when we talk about it, the water will evaporate and reach the higher layers of atmosphere and form clouds there. So what happens basically, that whenever the molecules absorb heat and when their kinetic energy has become high, or whenever their kinetic energy become high or sufficient to overcome those forces of attraction between the molecules, they become free and they become the gaseous form, take the form of water vapors, and they rise up. Fine. Moving on further, when we talk about factors affecting evaporation, these are the 4 factors which affect the evaporation. The first one being the surface area, correct? The second one being the temperature, the third being the humidity, and fourth being the wind speed. So surface area, how does the surface area affect the evaporation? Whenever we talk about surface area means how wide the area is where the water is filled, correct? Now when we talk about surface area, whenever the water, if you take a glass and take a plate or a big plate, fill same amount of water in the glass and fill same amount of water in the plate and keep it out in the sun. You will observe that on a hot sunny day, the water in the plate evaporates much earlier before the water in the glass. The reason being here is that more amount of water will be absorbed by the water which is present in the plate. And that's how, when the sufficient heat has been absorbed by those molecules of water, and when the kinetic energy rises up, they change into water vapors and they evaporate. Fine. So now how the surface area is affecting, the rate of evaporation increases as the area increases. So there is a direct relation between the surface area and this increase in surface area. As the surface area will increase, the rate of evaporation will also increase. Moving on further, the second factor, that is temperature. You can understand very easily that as the temperature increases, the rate of evaporation also increases, because more amount of heat will be absorbed by the molecules. They will gain more amount of kinetic energy. They will vibrate faster. They will break those forces of attraction and they will change into the gaseous form. So that's how the temperature affects. And the next one is humidity. Now what is humidity? Humidity is the amount of water vapors which are present in air. So whatever the amount of water vapors which is present in air, that is humidity. Correct? And that's how you can see that the amount of humidity is different in different areas. The areas which have good amount of water bodies or areas which are near the sea, they have high humidity. That means there is a lot of water vapor in that whole area. And that's why you would have seen that they have very humid environment. People feel a lot of sweat on their faces because there's already a lot of water in the air. So air doesn't take more water from the water bodies or any of the surfaces, and that's why the humidity and rate of evaporation has an opposite relation. That means as the humidity will increase, this rate of evaporation will decrease. So as the humidity increases, the rate of evaporation decreases. You can see here the relation between humidity and evaporation. The next factor being, okay, as I've shown that as the humidity will increases, the rate of evaporation decreases. Moving on further, when we talk about the next factor which affect the evaporation, that is wind speed. Now you would have seen on a windy day, the clothes dry faster. Now how does the clothes dry faster? Because the evaporation get affected by wind speed. Now how it get affected? Imagine this is a piece of cloth which is hanged. Now what will happen as the molecules of molecules of air will strike with this cloth piece. The molecules of water which are present in that cloth will absorb some of the heat and will also escape into the environment. And that is the reason that the wind speed also affect the evaporation. As the wind speed will increase, the evaporation will also increase. Now, the next thing we have to discuss, which is also discussed in your textbook, is that evaporation causes cooling. Now, how does evaporation causes cooling? The common examples which we can see around ourselves, that where we can observe this phenomena, is that the water which is stored in tumbler, matka, the water which is stored in the matka or the tumbler, that on a hot day also, that tumbler keeps the water cool. Now, what is the reason? The reason is this only, that whenever, and the second factor, that whenever we sweat or whenever we sweat, after sweating, we feel ourselves cool. If you go out on a sunny day to play, observe that, touch your hand on your face. You will find that your face is comparatively cool as compared with your hand. The reason being is that your face has done a lot of sweating. You have sweat a lot. And that's how your body has become cool. And this is one of the protective measure of our body, that we sweat to cool down the temperature of our body. Fine. Now, how this happens? Whenever the particles of liquid will absorb energy from their surroundings, and what happens? For example, let's take one more example. You pour one spoon of, or 1 or 2 drops of a nail polish remover, the nail paint remover, or acetone, which we call, on your palm. The acetone molecules will absorb the heat from your hand and will evaporate. And when this happens, you will feel your palm is cool because the molecules have absorbed the energy from your hand. So similarly, whenever we are talking about how the tumbler keeps the water inside cool, because the molecules which are evaporating from that tumbler, outside layers of that tumbler, they are taking the energy, absorbing the energy from the molecules which are inside, and they are escaping out. Correct? And that is what leaving the water in the tumbler cool. Fine. And the same is with our body. Whenever we are doing sweating, our body release, or our sweat glands release the sweat, or that is mostly water, on our skin, and the heat which falls on us from the sun, the water which is present on our skin absorb that heat and the water evaporates, leaving behind our skin cool. And that's how the evaporation causes cooling. That is for today. Thank you for watching EduAchievers. If you have any further question, any reasoning which you want to ask me, you can leave it in the comment, and you can like the video if you like it, like the content. You can share it with your friends as well if you like the content, and if you want to keep on watching such videos which I will be constantly making, then subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching. Take care.